Cafe Networking Podcast promotes successful business experts throughout the world. I'm Tom Rioch, known as the King of Networking, connecting people from my podcast studio in Brazil. And today we talk with Terri Kozlowski. She's joining us from Woodstock, Georgia, in the United States. Terri Kozlowski is host at Soul Solutions Podcast, and Terri is a proud Native American warrior, Athabascan, tliglet-tribe, Raven Clan. She journeyed through the pain of child sexual abuse and utter fear of life after her mother abandoned her at the age of 11. Terri is a life coach at Cosmic Soul Solutions, whose mission is to inspire others to master their fear. So Terri, how did you release the shame, blame, and judgment of yourself due to the acts of your mother?
That's a long story, and your podcast isn't long enough for me to explain all that. But ultimately, what it came down to is realizing that I was never broken. And a lot of people who have gone through trauma, or even who haven't gone through trauma, for some reason think they're broken and that they're shattered into pieces. And the reality is our core being, our soul, is never broken. We are always whole. What happens, however, and why we feel fragmented is because we put on masks and armor to protect ourselves. And therefore, we're hiding who we authentically are. And when we hide who we authentically are, we do feel like we're broken and fragmented because only parts of us are truly shining through. The light of our soul, because of the masks and armor, we're peeking out,
right,
and trying to decide if people are worthy of seeing a little bit of more of who we are. And what I found out over time is that everybody wants us to be authentic with them. Mm-hmm. You want me to show up as my authentic self, which means that if I come wearing my masks and armor, you're not going to get truly who I am. And by removing the masks and armor and being my authentic self, I found out several things happen. Number one, people are a lot more accommodating to being, as long as I'm authentic with them and being authentic back to me. Number two, not everybody's out to get us because we've had really one horrible thing happen to us. Mm-hmm. And the ego, which is the part of ourselves that protects who we are, and that's its job. The ego's job is to make sure that we stay protected and we don't get hurt. But that also means that because when I was 11, I was traumatized, my ego froze at the age of 11. And then all my filters was of that little girl at 11 years old being terrified. So I had to learn to adjust and talk to my ego in a way that it could understand. So, for example, the 3 men who molested me when I was 11 were Hispanic men. Mm-hmm. So for the longest time, seeing Hispanic men, my ego jumped, oh my gosh, there's Hispanic men coming your way, and fear would rise up.
Right.
And then I went to work, and when I went to work in a fairly large Hispanic community and found out that Hispanic men are sweet, nice people. And that just because I've had one negative experience doesn't mean that I need to translate all my experiences with Hispanic men as negative. And so now I can, to this day, my ego, when they see 3 Hispanic men walking towards me, my ego jumps up and says, hey, watch out. And I can say to my ego, I've had more positive experiences than negative experience with Hispanic men. Thank you for pointing that out. And the fear dissipates.
And to your point, as adults, we do have more experiences than an 11-year-old.
Correct.
So at 11, you just compare to what you have, and many times that's just few.
Correct. And that's why as we grow older and we mature and we have more experiences, we're supposed to use those experiences to offset and learn from and correct past behaviors.
Your audience today and who you speak to, either on the podcast and also as a life coach, are you helping persons who have been through similar situations, or are you helping parents of persons who have been through situations, or both?
Mostly people who've gone through some sort of trauma, whether it is sexual abuse or a physical abuse, any type of trauma that stops them from moving forward. They get trapped in that past, looking back. I talk about depression being the fear of the past and focus on the past. And anxiety is fear of the future and focusing on the future. And that if we stay in the present moment, everything's okay. And only in the present moment can we live. Only in the present moment can we experience joy. Only in the present moment can we change the future instead of worrying about the future.
I agree with you, because what I say literally every day is that we only get one day at a time.
Correct.
We don't get tomorrow. We may get tomorrow, but what we have is here and now. And I also agree with you. Many times we don't enjoy it. We don't share. We don't understand that.
Correct.
We're putting off, saying, well, I'll wait for tomorrow, wait for some other day. But why wait? This is the time we have.
Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean we don't plan for the future, but it also means that we're not living for the future. We live in the present moment, and only in the present moment can we live. And a lot of people don't live, they merely survive.
And then as they survive, they tend to survive thinking about the past.
Correct.
And that's more often than not, that's what we see and hear.
Exactly.
People wanting to share those moments in the past, which I truly understand. But we can't get over our past. The past is done. It's history. And we have to learn from that and adjust to it.
Exactly. And a lot of people get stuck in the past because of some emotional trauma. And moving forward means that we have to look at how to retell that story. So if we're retelling a negative story, then we're going to keep feeling the negativity and the pain instead of telling an empowering story. So although my story is of pain and trauma caused by my mother, I can say that my mother was a tool that helped me become a stronger, fearless warrior in today's time.
Well, and now today you are the tool for other people. Because
Correct.
the challenge for most people who've been through that is, who can I talk to? Who can I share this with?
Absolutely.
And I think that's the key to the coaching, as you do. I'm sure that's the key to sharing on your podcast, of giving somebody else, giving all persons another viewpoint, another listening point, and sharing positive results.
One of the things that I say to all my coaching clients is, I'm not here to fix you because I don't believe you're broken. I'm not here to make you feel bad about the past or where you are now. My job is to point out to you other possibilities. My job is to point to you to different perspectives of the exact same situation. You're looking at it through one lens. I'm going to give you several lenses to look through. And a lot of times people get stuck because they believe that the negativity of whoever harmed them is in everybody. Well, technically they're right, but at the same time, they're not the same person that experienced the trauma. They've grown, they've changed. Why can't they believe that other people grow and change, including those people that harmed them? But more importantly, the people around them are much older than when they were harmed. And therefore they can do something different now. They can walk away if somebody's being verbally abusive. You couldn't do that when you were a child.
That's true.
And,
you were literally cornered many times, cornered.
Correct. And that's why understanding that you are not that child, you are the same soul, but that child is now grown into an adult, and that adult has other options before them, that they can walk away, they can stand up for themselves, and they can learn to put in personal boundaries into place.
Well, to our audience, how can they find more information about your soul?
You can find me at terrikozlowski.com, or you can go to the Soul Solutions podcast. I'm on every channel, and you can find me that way. And I'm across social media as well.
I just want you to repeat your Native American warrior stories and your tribes, please.
Okay, so I am an Athabascan tliglet-tribe Raven clan. That is my mother's clan, is the family unit. So it was a Raven clan. And the Raven is my family crest. And that's where the title of my book came from, Raven Transcending Fear, because as I was going through my healing journey, I really tapped into my Native American heritage and understood, because Native Americans have a long history of trauma,
Right.
but they also have a long history of becoming warriors and overcoming things that most people can't imagine overcoming. And part of that is the mindset of transcending, because this is not where we belong. Our soul transcends everything. And one of the things about the raven, a lot of people put negative connotations with the raven because they show up at death. Well, they show up at death because their job is to take that soul and transcend it to the spiritual realm.
Well, that's interesting, because here in Brazil, when we studied the indigenous tribes here, what you said fits here. Mm-hmm. I think it fits all indigenous tribes.
Correct, because indigenous tribes are ones that are really one with nature. They really understand that everything is in a cycle. And just because it's happening, this cycle is a negative cycle, doesn't mean the next cycle isn't going to be better. And there's always hope from an indigenous population. There's always hope. There's always growth. There's always next season. Whereas in the Western world, it's always about the next win. It's about the next best thing versus being. And the Native American tribes and the Athabascan Tlingit tribes are about being, not necessarily about doing.
And back to the soul.
Exactly.
Well, very good. I want to thank you for sharing your time and your story with us today.
Thank you very much, Tom. It was a pleasure being here.
And for our audience, it's Terri, Terri, and the last name, Kozlowski, is Kozlowski. You'll find her at terrikozlowski.com, and the book Raven Transcending Fear on her site and also on Amazon. Cafe Networking is brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information at www.focusmi.com. Thanks for listening until the next time here at Cafe and Networking Podcast.